Turn to somebody and say, I think that there is purpose in my pain because God is intentional. A long time ago, when I was at St. Andrew Prep, no St. Andrew Prep people here. All right. My father, Peter Morgan, who was this great track athlete back in his day, and he was, when he was in high school, he was a phenomenon and champion boy at champs and all of those kind of things. And he was well known. He was really good at track. And my father was the coach of St. Andrew Prep track team, right? And I was, as a Morgan, I had the DNA inside of me to be fast, right? It was there somewhere. Why y'all laughing? I'm just saying. My father was fast. My brothers were quick. They used to win everything as well. And my father was the coach of the Andrews team, and my father said to me, well, Christopher, we need to have a talk, right? And I'll never forget the day, he put me in the front seat of the car and said, today, we're going to go and buy you a pair of spikes. And I said, spikes? What are spikes? He said, spikes are those things that you run in, man. And I was like, oh, like that, make you faster. He's going to buy me a pair of spikes, he says, because next week, Saturday, at JISA, Prep School Champs, he said, you are going to be running and representing St. Andrew Prep in the 400 meters. And I said, what? Oh, my goodness. This is my time to shine. You understand? I was born for this. It was in my DNA, and it was my time. You have to understand. You see, I tried out for the football team. I made the football team, but I was always sitting down. Right? I tried out for the cricket team. I made the cricket team, but I was always sitting down. But this time, I was going to get a chance. Right? And it was a 400 meters. So I said, I think I have endurance. Right? That's one time around. 4 times you have to run 100 meters. I said I couldn't be too hard. He went, bought the spikes, red and white spikes. I'll never forget it, to match the red and white. And then that morning came, the day before the finals, the heats, right, was my debut. And the stands are packed. And my brothers, my older brothers, and all of their friends are in the stands, and they're sitting with the St. Andrew Prep right above them. And there's all this noise and this anticipation because young Morgan is going up next. You understand? And I just want you to know, just so you can picture it, when we walked out there, there was nobody that looked as good as young Morgan. Nobody looked as fast as young Morgan, at least. I had on the red tights, right? The red and white shorts and the red and white shirt tucked in. And I had on the headband, the sweat things at wrist, right? And I was looking like an athlete, and I watched a lot of stuff, right? I watched a lot of stuff on television. I watched the Olympics and stuff, and before the race, I did all of the right stuff, and I was doing all the stretches, and the stuff I was doing was intimidating all of the other athletes. They're like, oh my God, this guy must be fast, right? Because he's doing the right thing, and I don't know what this does. I went down on my marks, and one of the guys said, no, you don't go down on your marks for the 400, just stand up. So I stood up, and what made it even more impactful for the audience was that the commentator was a fan of my father. He knew my father, and he says, wow, well, he went through the names of Mona Prep and Vaz, went through these names, and he says, and we have Christopher Morgan. Oh, Morgan. Wow. Okay, this is young Morgan, I believe, son of the great Peter Morgan, who, had this record for this long, and son of the great Peter Morgan. Wow, we're expecting great things from Morgan. Morgan. And the more he said Morgan, I was just, Morgan. And I said, yes, because it's in my DNA. Morgan, son of Morgan. We expect a lot from Morgan. I expected a lot from Morgan. We said, on your mark, get set, go. And Morgan was out of the blocks, and Morgan was running after us on 400 meters. In the first 100 meter, everybody was behind me. I was in lane 4, and I had overtaken everybody on the right, if you understand track and field. And I said, wow, Morgan is out. And look at Morgan go. Beautiful. Look at him. He looks like his father. High knee lifts. He's going. Look at Morgan go. Look at Morgan go. Morgan. And when we got around to the backstretch, his voice changed. So he went from Morgan to Morgan? Like one to Morgan. Because something happened to Morgan. Morgan, as beautiful as I looked, and as perfect as my form was, it's as if I went into slow motion. Because I'll never forget it, what happened to me is I'm running as fast as I can, as beautiful as I could, with my spikes on, and I just heard and I saw Mona Prep, soup, Vase, soup, Woolmers, soup, Purple, Peter and Paul, soup. And I saw this white, like a school that didn't even have a uniform, past me, and I could read it, and I read it says MICO. I said, Micah Care Center. I didn't even know Micah had a, because I was a special, it was a special school. Micah, zoop, and the back stretch changed my life. Because Morgan was going as fast as he's going, and the commentators didn't know what else to say. He's like, Morgan, Morgan, everybody's now ahead of me going around the last corner, and I'm trying my best. I never forget how much I pushed, right? Because DNA is a thing, that it can kick in any time. That's what I was told. So I said, any moment now, Morgan, right? Any moment now, Morgan, come on, Morgan. And I went around the final stretch and all of the grandstands. I'm looking up and I'm seeing everybody cheering their school. And I'm looking up at St. Andrew like, Morgan. I'm looking up at my brothers. I'm looking at their friends. And I look up and I'm looking at them, and in that moment, it was the most embarrassing moment in my life. It was so embarrassing. And, I was there. I was embarrassed, but I looked up at them, and I had a decision to make. I said, I'm either going to feel embarrassed now, in this present moment, or I'm going to look to what is coming next. And I drew from what I knew was coming next into that present moment, and I just began to laugh. Because I knew that as soon as I finish, my brothers and all of their friends are going to laugh me to scorn. And I knew that they were going to laugh. I knew that I would become the laughing stock. And I said, if it's funny later, it's funny now. And in that present moment, I'm running. Everybody already finished the race. I had 50 meters to go. I just started to run, and I looked up at them, and I pointed at them, and I just laughed. And I just ran in. You understand what I'm saying? Because if it's funny later, I said, it's going to be funny now. And why should I, in that moment, be consumed with embarrassment when I could be consumed with joy? And I said, I might as well laugh at myself. And what I did was I was able to, in that moment, for the last 50 meters, to tap into the emotion, an emotion that I knew was coming rather than an emotion that I had. There is this phenomenon where we can tap in the present to a future emotion. We can tap into something that is more significant and powerful in the future, that kind of makes this moment powerful and significant too. I'm just saying, there's something about pulling a future emotion into your present emotion. And I said, I can choose embarrassment now, or I can choose to laugh. And I chose to laugh my way to the finish line. How many of you know that I turned my most embarrassing moment into one of my most fun moments? Put your hands together for Morgan from St. Andrew Prep. Coincidentally, that was the end of my track career. Adjust your emotions in the present to a future emotion that is more powerful and more real. What was more real than my embarrassment was the fact that they was going to laugh after me. Today, I want to talk about the fact that there is purpose in your pain. My hope is that the pain that you feel about your past and the pain that you may feel in your present and in the future when you feel pain, that you will be able to, while you're going through that pain, somehow tap into an emotion that is more powerful in the future. Let's see what happens. So most of you don't like pain, right? Pain is the one thing in your life that you're trying to avoid. How many of you are trying to avoid pain right now? Isn't it? I'm not trying to feel any kind of pain right now, all right? And when I think about my pain in the past, when I think about what they did to me, when I think about what was done, when I think of what I've been through, I don't like it. It's not right. And a lot of us set our lives up to not have any pain. You stay away from people and places so that you don't have any pain. And when it comes to our relationship with God, we build a relationship with a God that we believe won't allow there to be any pain in our life. And we develop a theology, we find the right church, and we listen to the right speakers and preachers online that will give us a philosophy that we want to hear about pain, where he is provider and protector, where he is providential, where he's so sovereign and so powerful, that he is so great, that he's always good. And there is no pain in God. That's how much we hate pain. How many of you hate pain? I'm just telling you the truth. That it's easy to develop a theology that says that in God there is no pain. There's no way there can be a protector and pain at the same time. So that's the theology that we build. But today I'm here to tell you that there is purpose in your pain. Please just look at somebody and say, I believe that there is purpose in your pain. Let me just explain very quickly before I tell you what the purpose is. Where pain started. Because we have to be fair. Okay, where did pain start? Here's where pain started. It started where Adam and Eve were in the garden, and God said to them, here's what. You can eat from all these other trees, but this tree, do not eat from that tree or else. Somebody say or else. You have all these other trees to eat from. Do not eat from that tree or else. Or else what? Or else pain comes. Or else death is your reward. Destruction comes, right? Or else sin comes in and perversion comes in. Or else pain starts to come into your world. And Adam and Eve chose to eat from the tree. Right? How many of you know the story? Right? That's the story that the Bible gives us. Right? And it's interesting that when God comes along after and he says, what have you done? Check this out. Guess what they did? Adam said, the first thing Adam did was he blamed God. He says, God is no you send me this woman. Adam blamed two people one time. How many of you, when you get caught, blame somebody else? How many of you, when you get caught, blame someone else? Adam said, God is you, you know. Send me this woman, you know. God said to her, well, what did you do? And she said, is the devil, you know. And they blamed. They blamed everybody else. You see, when the or else season began, when the death came and the destruction and the pain and the society begins to degrade, and when immorality comes and morality starts to weaken, right, and things start going bad and crime, the easiest thing to do is to blame everybody else except where it started. I'm just trying to tell you where pain began. And as adults, we have to check it out. We have to listen to it. That's where pain began, right? So we can't, when pain comes, begin to blame everybody else. Now, we are living in the or else season. How many of you realize that we're living in the or else season? We're living in the season where that stuff is all around us. And we have to live with the pain of our own actions. And we have to now live with the pain of the actions of others. So, well, I don't want to live with the pain of the actions of others. That's the world we live in, right? Somebody say, or else. That's the season that we're living in. But we have a good God, and we have a God that is providential, and let me just tell you about him very quickly. God, he does two things. He's either going to action something and do something directly, or he's going to allow something and do it indirectly. Okay? Either through the laws of nature, they do stuff, whether you like it or not. Right? And human nature. So people do things at times, whether you like it or not. And God allows these things to happen. Now, when God allows people to do stuff and it touches you or it affects your life, right, it can either bring pleasure or bring pain. Most of us don't argue when it's pleasure. Right? Am I right? When things are happening in our life, we don't argue when God allows pleasure. We don't acknowledge him very often when he allows pleasure. So when we get a raise, we're not arguing. It's when somebody take our money that we start to complain. Right? We don't argue when the highway is finished or when Constant Spring and Hagley Park Road finish. We argue while they're actually doing it. How many of you are arguing right now? I'm just saying, we don't argue when we're walking around healthy. We don't make any noise with what God allows when we're healthy, even though we don't deserve it. Let's listen, right? We argue when we're sick. So we ask this all-important question. I must admit that it is very important for you to understand why God would allow pain to come into your life. I need you to understand today that there is purpose in your pain. Who's ready for this? Somebody say, there could be purpose in my pain. First of all, I need you to understand that pain punishes. Let's look at Habakkuk chapter 1. Habakkuk chapter 1 verse 12 says, you, Lord, have appointed them, the bad people, the evil ones, right, to execute judgment. You, my rock, you've ordained them to punish me. This is just something God does, where God uses the actions of others to punish us. It's a little bit less severe than if he came down here to punish you himself. I'm just telling you. But God allows us to be punished. He allows people to do things. And he said, well, how do I know if the evil that is coming against me is punishment or not? I just very quickly, let me tell you that God often will tell you that you're going to be punished before you do something. It's just after we do it, we lose our memory. God told you, don't do that. He told you through your father. He told you through your mother. He told you through your pastor. He told you through the word of God. At least he told you to go and read it. Right? And then you don't. And then the punishment comes. And so I'm just telling you, very often you can connect something that's happening in your life to something you did not do or something that you did that you wasn't supposed to do. Adults, am I right? Yeah, I'm being honest. That has happened, or that's happening, you might say. Pain punishes, right? There will be a correlation, I believe, between what is happening in your life and something that you did or did not do, because pain punishes, ladies and gentlemen. If you are not sure if what is being wrought against you, if the foolishness that's happening in your life, if what you're feeling is punishment because you're doing something wrong, my advice to you is just stop doing wrong stuff. I'm just saying, stop doing wrong stuff, then you know that it's not punishment. The problem is those of us that are doing wrong stuff want to know if it's punishment. I'm just encouraging you to stop doing stuff. God uses pain to keep us from more pain. Isn't that why you punish your children? I mean, if you love your children, it's the fear of pain in the future that causes you to give them pain now. Any good parents here today? Everybody too quiet, right? I'm just saying, it's the anticipation of more pain that causes you to be a good parent and give them some pain, right? I grew up being spanked. I grew up being beaten. And that's why I'm the way I am today. Some of it worked. But let's just read Hebrews 12. It says, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines the ones that he loves. And he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. If God punishes you, it's because he loves you. If you feel the punishment coming from it's because God loves you. It's because he calls you son. It's because he calls you daughter. If you start getting away with everything and you don't feel the hand of God, that's when you need to start being worried. Well, put your hands together if you believe that God's punishment in your life is keeping you out of hell right now. I don't know about you, but I'm telling you, I'm celebrating when God spanked me. Because it's when God punished me, that is what is keeping me in line right now. I'm just telling you, there are seasons in my life where God punished me really, really bad. God beat me so hard. Right now, I am well behaved. Because I know he spanks very hot. Pain punishes. And I give God thanks. I say, thank you, Lord, for the pain of punishment. Because when it's all said and done, it could have been worse. Who's willing to celebrate punishment? Also needed to understand that pain points. Pain points. Back in the year 2099-ish, right? I started to get a pain in my leg. Most of you know this about me. It was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt in my physical body. It was so bad, what it did, it was so bad that it kept me awake. The only time I had relief from the pain was when I was standing. And you know you can't stand up for too long because everything else starts to hurt, right? I had to stand. If I sat down, it hurt. If I lay down, it hurt. If I did anything, it hurt. And I had to remain standing. Or if I wanted to sleep, it was excruciating pain. Because there was something going on in my leg that I could not see. And it was pain. It was the worst pain I've ever felt. And I said, God, why? Why are you having this thing pain me so much? Went to the doctors, then push a needle in there. They did a biopsy, right? Sent it off. Found out that this thing was malignant and they had to go in and take it out. I wanted to understand something. And it's that they went into my leg. They took out this cancerous tumor from my right leg. Closed me back up. Sent it back up to do some more testing. Tested everything that was around it. And I said, I think the stuff around it got touched. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And we need to go back in this guy's leg. They went back into my leg and then they took out some of the bone, took out some of the muscle. And then they sent that off to be tested. A couple weeks later, the test came back. And the doctors told us that we believe we got everything out. And we do not recommend that he has to go into any kind of therapy. Chemotherapy. We don't have to cut off his leg. Somebody put your hands together. We don't have to cut off his foot. It did not spread. I'm just telling you that I had a medical miracle. But you have to understand that medical miracles start with a God miracle. Because the beginning of my miracle was pain. My medical miracle didn't start with a doctor. My medical miracle started with God-inflicted pain. In other words, the way he set this body up is so that pain would point. Somebody say pain points. And pain pointed to something that was inside of me that needed to come out. What I'm here to tell you is that whenever you are in pain, God is saying, I'm trying to point to something. Will you accept the fact that pain points? There's purpose there. It points. Ladies and gentlemen, pain points. I'm here to tell you that we need to celebrate pain pointing today. Just this week, I got 3 different results of persons in our church that have got good results back from their doctors in relation to cancer. One benign, one malignant and come out and therapy went well and no reason to continue. And another one, there's no sign. I'm just telling you, God is good. Put your hands together. Because pain pointed to something that is in there that would have gotten worse. I'm just telling you, pain points. Ladies and gentlemen, stop rejecting pain. The problem, and we're not just talking about physical stuff. I'm talking about emotional pain. Emotional pain points. Emotional pain points to something. Some of you are living with emotional pain. And God is pointing to that relationship and saying, you know, here is the issue. The issue, why God uses pain to point is that for most of us, pain is the only thing that gets our attention. Because again, your mother told you, your best friend told you, that person told you, and you didn't listen. I'm just saying, they told you they were no good. And some of you feel like you can change somebody that's no good. I can change you, I can fix you. Pain points. Pain points. And the issue is, oftentimes, God has to say, the only way I can get her attention, the only way I can get that man's attention is through pain. If they would just listen when I talk. If they would just listen. Pain is often the only thing that we listen to. Isn't that terrible? So I just want you to know that before you begin to pray away your pain, before you begin to take painkillers, ask God, what are you pointing at? Don't take painkillers and you don't know what the source is. Some of you pop in painkillers, painkiller pills, pills that kill pain. Some of you shooting up morphine. I'm just saying, some of you spiritually, some of you going in deep and hard and praying away that pain when God is saying, there's something there. Stop covering it up. Stop covering up the pain with alcohol. Stop covering up the pain with that relationship. Stop covering up the pain with your weird spirituality. Stop covering up the pain with religion. Stop covering up the pain with foolishness. God is saying pain has been pointing and it's going to stay there until you love it. It's going to stay there until you go where I'm pointing. Somebody say pain points. Mercy. All right, pain pushes. Somebody say pain pushes. Let me read a scripture for you in Genesis. Pain pushes. Everybody knows the story of Joseph. He had these brothers. His brothers did this wicked thing. They kind of beat him up, sold him into, put him in a pit, then sold him into slavery. And Joseph lived a very horrible, painful life. All right, and in the end, his brothers came to him when he was now running things in Egypt. They came there for food, and he revealed himself to his brothers after years, and he said something like this. He said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you did sell into Egypt. Remember when you did sell me? But now, do not therefore be grieved or angry or afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be worried. Don't get too puffed up with yourselves because it's you who sold me here. Because God sent me before you to preserve life. In other words, don't get it twisted. There is purpose in my pain. And there always was purpose in my pain. Let's jump down to verse 8, I believe. So now it was not uno. It was not you who rejected me. It was not you who beat me. It was not you that made me feel so small. It was not you who used to make fun of me and insult me and embarrass me. It was not you who sent me here, but God sent me here. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his hosts and ruler throughout the entire land of Egypt. Just so you understand, Egypt was ruling the world at that time. God pushed. Somebody say pain pushes. Pain propels. God caused Joseph to be at the very, 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 very top. And Joseph is saying to them, God put me here. You didn't put me here. Stop worrying about what you did to me. You didn't put me here. God used my pain to propel me. God used the pain you inflicted on me to propel me upwards. So don't come here on you. Don't be talking about forgive me and please don't hurt us, because you have to understand, I forgave you a whole long time ago. Listen carefully. Joseph had to explain to them the reason that I'm all the way up here is because I forgave you down there. Unforgiveness is that thing that weighs you down. Pain that adds unforgiveness and bitterness to it will only keep you down. He says, when I forgave you, I was set free. Joseph says, stop. I've already forgiven you. When I forgave you, I was set free. And because of forgiveness, I was light again. I was free again, free enough to be pushed upwards and to be propelled by my pain. It was pain that propelled me. And it could not have happened if I was unforgiving. Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to look into yourself today to say, is there unforgiveness or bitterness in my life that's attached to my pain that is keeping me down? Or will I let that person go and allow God to propel me? The pain plus unforgiveness keeps you down. Pain plus forgiveness will propel you. Pain plus unforgiveness keeps you down. Pain plus forgiveness will propel you. He says, I set you free, and I was set free, and ever since that day, I began to rise upwards. Pain pushes. Pain propels you upwards. Joseph said, I've been climbing ever since. Listen to this. Write this down, some of you. What they stole from you cannot compare to what God is offering you. God is saying, you need to let that person go. You need to let that person, he's asking you to work towards letting go what that person, set yourself free, because what they stole from you, what they did to you, cannot compare to what I want to do to you. What they took from you can't compare to what I'm offering you. How many of you are ready to release and accept what God has for you? I'm just telling you. God is saying freedom will cause you to rise. What Joseph said was that, what he pointed out, what we have to learn from his story, is that his most painful moments were moments that propelled him. The most painful places that Joseph was put in were the exact places that he propelled from. See, some of you are looking for the wrong thing. Some of you are looking for that comfortable place. Some of you are looking for that safe place. Some of you are looking for something. Joseph said, listen, it's when they sold me into slavery that I was propelled. Here is why, because I used it to push me. Joseph said, I hated the pain of slavery so much that I said, I am going to become indispensable. I'm going to become so good at being a slave. I'm going to rise on this thing. I'm going to ride this thing that this slave master is going to need me. I'm going to push so hard on this pain. I hate being a slave so much that I'm going to become a master. I don't know how many of you know the story. But as a slave in Potiphar's house, Joseph rose up on top of his pain and became the head slave. He was ruling in Potiphar's house. He said, I hate this pain so much that I'm going to use it to push me out of it. I'm not going to wallow in the pain of slavery. So when he became a convicted, wrongly accused and wrongly convicted rapist, Joseph was in prison, and Joseph said, I hated the pain of being a prisoner so much that I said, well, I'm going to start organizing this prison. I'm going to start leading in this prison. Joseph hated his pain so much that it pushed him to the place where they gave him the keys to the prison. I'm just trying to tell you that your pain can propel you. God is not saying that you should love where you are, love that painful place. He's saying you should fight your way out. I'm trying to get you to fight your way out. Just so you understand, in the end, Pharaoh gave all of the kingdom to Joseph, not because he was good with plenty, but because he was good with pain. Some of you know the story. Joseph was so good with pain and lack that with the forecast of lack, Pharaoh gave him control of the entire world. Are you good with your pain? Does pain push you? Do you allow pain to propel you? Basically, Joseph looked at his brothers and said, you guys didn't kill me what you did was you fattened me. Because what don't kill you? What? It fatten you. How many of you know that? Yeah. All right. Pain prepares. Pain prepares. A couple years ago, I was at the doctor, and I don't know why, but it was like a clinic type of a thing, and there was this mother, and she had this little baby in her arms, and looked like the baby was just about 1 year old, right? And she had her little fat, cute baby in her arms, and they're playing, and that baby didn't know what was coming, right? Nurse came over with this big, long syringe, needle, right? Took this thing out. It was a vaccine, I believe, and sat down there, and the baby just looking at the mother like, I love you, mommy. Life is so great when I'm in my mother's arms. Mommy, 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 I love you, mommy. And right there, and the nurse is cleaning off the spot, and the nurse tapped the spot, and the nurse juked the spot, and the baby went from to anger and disbelief. That baby looked at the mother like, how could this be happening? What are you doing? I'm in my mother's arms, and I'm feeling this pain. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem right. How could I be in your arms and be feeling pain? How can you let this happen to me? And the baby looked at her with disbelief and anger and started crying. A baby in their mother's arms, crying because of excruciating pain, because of this thing that is being injected into her. And what I discovered is that the reason that mother allowed that child to get that vaccine injected in them is so that after the pain goes away, listen very carefully, after the pain goes away, there is inside that child this thing flowing that causes a child to become stronger than anything that the enemy in the future would want to throw at it. Pain that comes from being injected by something that causes you to, that prepares you for victory over your enemy in the future. Polio, how many of you used to get polio? They don't do that anymore, right? But rubella, chickenpox, measles. I'm just saying, that child, through pain, was infused with power that it couldn't understand in the moment. But I'm here to tell you that there was purpose in that pain. Somebody said pain prepares. Pain prepares, because some of you are in the arms of God, looking at God wondering why God would allow you to be going through what you're going through. Some of you are looking at God with disbelief and with anger and saying, I know I'm in the arms of God. I know I'm in the will of God, but how could He be allowing this thing to be injected into my life? And God is saying, there is purpose in your pain. What is being injected in you today is not for today. It's for future battles. The pain is preparing you for victory over your enemy. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that God is allowing some things to happen in your life so that you can have future victories over your enemy. If you are accepting that today, put your hands together. What I'm saying is that there is too much to gain from pain. Lastly, pain provokes. Pain provokes. I believe that what God wants to do today is to provoke you. A powerful story in the book of Judges is the story of Samson. Some of you know Samson. You know the story of Samson, but the intricacies of it and how God was involved in it. Right? Here is what happened. Samson saw this girl. Samson wanted to marry her. She was not an Israelite. She was something else, right? And Judges 14, verse 3, Samson said to his father, just get her for me, man. She's the right one for me. Right? And he says, his parents, they didn't want to do it because they did not know that this was from the Lord. It was God's will that he get this girl, that she become his. Right? Because God was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines. Because the whole time they were ruling over Israel. God was seeking an occasion against Samson's enemy. God was seeking an occasion against his enemy, and he allowed some stuff to happen in Samson's life. So you have to understand, the Philistines were already the enemy that was leading. I mean, the enemy that was oppressing the Israelites. The Philistines had already been there. And Samson had long hair to down here, so. Samson already had all the strength inside of him. The Philistines were already, inflicting pain on it. So the Philistines had been bad. Samson had already been powerful enough with the long hair and thing. But Samson wasn't doing anything about it. What I'm saying is Samson was living with power inside him that was not yet activated. Samson was living with power enough to destroy his enemies, but it was not activated. Samson's power was not provoked enough to be activated. So God allowed pain to come into his life. Somebody say pain provokes. I hope you're seeing this very clearly. God allowed him to fall in love with this girl, and when he was caught with this girl, right, he allowed the Philistines to come along and to kill her. Yeah. God allowed somebody that Samson loved to be murdered. Pulled from, I'm just telling the biblical story, you can take it up with God. But he did so because he wanted to provoke a man that was not yet provoked. He wanted to activate a power that was not yet activated. A powerful man, a strong man of God that was walking around the place like a normal man. A man that had not yet tapped into purpose. God used pain to provoke and to activate Samson. Pain enough. Pain enough. And Samson didn't stop to blame God. Why you made them kill her? Why you? Samson went after the true enemy. Samson went after the true enemy. Right? Samson didn't stop to take God to court. Some of us, when bad stuff happens, it's God that we're after. We're provoked, but we'll go after God. Some of us have been going after the wrong enemy. Some of us have been asking the same question of God. Why God? Why did you let this enemy do this? Instead of saying, you know what, I am upset with the enemy for doing this. Samson went after the right enemy. Some of you have the wrong enemy. Some of you have been stuck on the why. Why didn't he protect me? If he's a good God, why didn't he protect? Listen, I'm just telling you. Oftentimes, write this down, God will withhold his divine protection over you to activate his divine purpose in you. But he's protector. Oftentimes, God will withhold his divine protection over you to activate his divine purpose in you. Samson got angry enough, fed up enough, sick and tired enough of his enemy, and went after the enemy and killed 1,000 men in one night, in one swoop, with the jawbone of a donkey. He just grabbed something and went after his true enemy. Because God was not his enemy. You don't want God to be your enemy. It's better you find out who God really wants to fight. Almost finished. The question you have to ask yourself today is there a power that is inside of me that needs to be activated? Is there a power inside of me that needs to be pain activated? See, some of you are living a life where you're looking to God to keep you safe. And those of you that have been here for a while know my signature sermon, what I try to get across to you all the time is that God never bring you here to be safe. He brought you here for you to become dangerous. Let's say it like this. Your full potential is not reached when you are safe. Your full potential is reached when you become. Somebody say, my full potential will be reached when I become dangerous. One more time. Say, I never come here to be safe. I came here to be dangerous. God, I give up safety if it makes me dangerous. Are you willing to accept why God brought you here? Are you willing to accept the fact that God wants to elevate you from safety to becoming dangerous? How many of you believe that after Samson got angry enough and vexed enough that Samson was praying for God to keep him safe? With the jawbone of that donkey in his hand, Samson wasn't praying for safety anymore. Samson had been promoted from a place of safety. Samson had come to know a God Samson had come to know God then more than just his protector. Samson had come into a relationship with God that was the source of his power. I'm just telling you. Samson had got to the place where he had to, is either I going to cry or my enemy going to cry. And with that jawbone in his hand, Samson said, I would rather be dangerous than safe. Pain provoked him enough to be elevated to his full potential. Your full potential is reached when you become dangerous. Your full power is activated when you become dangerous. Your full purpose is activated when you become dangerous. Some of us have been praying the wrong prayer. I'm just saying today, if there has been pain in your life, stop praying for safety. It's time for you to go after the right enemy. It's time for you to live to your fullest potential. I just needed to know before we close that Samson got safe again. Some of you know the story. Samson went and got safe again. Samson killed off all of them. Samson made his stand. He won a few battles. And he went back to safety. Went back to running down woman again. And he buck up on the wrong girl. What's your name? Right? Please don't name your daughter Delilah. Right? I mean, Samson got safe again, found himself wrapped up in the arms of this girl. And God had to reprovoke him. Because oftentimes, right, after a while, after we win a couple battles, some of us go back into hiding. Right? Some of us ignore the purpose and go back into hiding. God is saying, no, I don't have a problem with reprovoking you. I don't have a problem with sending more pain in your life. If I've already called you to purpose through pain and you ignored me the first time, God is saying, I don't have a problem with sending more pain in your life. Samson got himself caught up again. Samson, they cut off his hair, plucked out his eyes, and had him turning a wheel and making fun of the man. He lived a life that was, he stripped him of his hair and stripped him of, he couldn't see. Didn't have any strength inside him. And what he did was, they said he was just pushing his wheel. And this is how he lived his life, because he forgot the pain that he went through the first time. And he lived in this wheel without any vision and without any strength, because he wasted the pain the first time. And he lived going around and around and around. Because he wasn't provoked enough to keep fighting the right enemy. Some don't get it the first time, and pain will come back. I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you what a good God does. God doesn't want you to live with your enemies over you. So he may have to send pain again. I just believe today that you need to say to God, God, no, I won't waste the pain I had the last time. I'm not very willing to say that. Say, come on now, put your hands together and say, I don't need sickness to come back before I start living for God. I don't need to get into another stupid relationship before I start listening to God. Only one of you clap. Right? I don't need to go around that circle again, God. I don't need more pain. I will make good on the pain I already had. I'm going to stop despising the pain and start using it. I'm going to provoke myself. I will remember the pain and I will use it to activate myself towards purpose and my full potential. It's time for you to say, it's time for me to fight the right enemy in my life. And it's time for you to say, boy, you know, they should have killed me because now I feel like I'm fatter. And for you to say to the enemy, to the devil, to say, you messed with the wrong person. You messed with the wrong person. It's time for you to fight for God. Say, I've had enough. Pain has pointed, pain has pointed, pain has pushed, pain has provoked, pain has prepared me to destroy my enemy. Some of you are ready to use pain to destroy your enemy. Well, I believe that today, your pain, the pain of your past, is calling you to purpose. And you can't say, you never know, because you came here today. Pain is calling you to fulfill purpose. Pain is calling you to fight your enemy today. God is saying, what do you hate? What is it that hurt you? It's time to fight that thing. Do you hate that thing enough to fight against it? The pain of the past is calling you right now. For me, it's religion. I hate religion. Religion hurt me. Religiosity hurt me. Super spirituality hurt me. How many of you hate that thing enough? How many of you hate it enough? Right? Some of you, it's perversion and promiscuity. It's sexual abuse. So how much do you hate? How much do you hate it? Stop hating that person and hate the sin. Poverty and corruption, do you hate? How much? That eating disorder. Are you ready to say, screw what? Screw that thing. I'm just saying, screw EDJA. Check it out on Instagram. How many of you hate addictions? Or you don't hate it enough? It wasn't that painful? Was it just not that bad? You don't mind other people going through it? God is saying, inequality towards women. Do you hate that enough to do something about it? Ladies and gentlemen, let's not waste our pain. What God has allowed in your past should provoke you enough and push you to doing something about it. Who's ready to do that? It's time for you to speak out. It's time for you to raise awareness. Some of you know I'm talking to you. We're going to pray together. Hey, thank you so much for watching us here, Go for God Family Church on YouTube. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button to ensure that you get all of what is new from Go for God Family Church and to ensure that you don't miss anything.